Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to my kitchen for another recipe video. So today I'm going to be sharing with you 3 ways to make tofu taste amazing. So I'll be sharing with you a seasoned soy crumble, an amazing sweet and salty sesame tofu, which is probably some of the best tofu I've ever had, and then a simple prep technique that helps firm tofu up and make it chewier and take on flavors even better. So whenever I share my dinners on my Instagram stories and they have tofu in it, I'm bound to get a few DMs from people that are like, bro, I tried tofu, but it's so boring. How do you eat this crap? Well, the truth is, yeah, tofu on its own is kind of boring. I'm not gonna lie, it is kind of bland. But that's why you have to season it. And you don't just throw a little salt and pepper on there and call it a day. With tofu, you really have to work at it to get the flavors inside the tofu, not just around the outside. And I know there's still some people out there who are on the fence deciding whether or not tofu and soy are good for us to be eating and are healthful foods, but I will leave some links in the description box down below which will hopefully clear it up for you guys if you are still curious and undecided. But quick spoiler alert, it is! Alright, but let's get started with these recipes. So the first one I'm going to show you is the smoky soy crumble. So this is a really simple one. It's really tasty. You can use it in wraps, in burritos. You could add it to spaghetti, stir fries. Crystal even added it to a chili the other day and it was so good. So it's really versatile. Let me show you guys how we make this. So if you're new to tofu, generally you want to get firm or extra firm tofu. This is kind of the best tofu for beginners and the most likable sort of texture. So first we're gonna get this out of the package and drain the liquid off of it. Oh, we got a bleeder! Next, you just want to crumble it into a bowl, mixing bowl. And you can just use your fingers for this. It's really easy just to squish it between your hands. So this is pretty much how you want it to look like. So you guys have probably seen me make tofu scramble before. This is kind of how that starts, but we're doing this one a little differently. And next you want to season it. So we're going to use a teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, a teaspoon of smoky chipotle powder. If you don't have this, you could use smoked paprika as well. And then 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast. And then you just want to give that a really good mix. You could use a spoon if you want, but I'm just gonna use my hands. So you can even kind of squish it in between your hands here to really work that flavor in. Oh, yeah, and I just realized after tasting it, I forgot to add some salt to it. So you definitely want to add a pinch or 2 of salt. So next you just want to spread it out evenly onto a baking tray. I have a silicone mat on here as well. It just helps it from sticking to the baking tray. But the idea here is that we're just gonna dry it out a little bit. And of course, cooking it is gonna bring out a lot of those flavors. So next, I'm just gonna put it in the preheated oven. It's preheated to about 350 or 375 degrees and probably leave it in there for about 35 minutes. But you do wanna check on it just to make sure it's not, burning or anything after about 30. Oh dude, it's ready. Okay. So the crumble's been in the oven for about 25 minutes now, and I think it's ready. If you want, you could probably give it a little stir and then put it back in for another 5 or 10 minutes to really crisp it up, but it's really good as it is right now. And yeah, it's ready to use for whatever you want. So yeah, it's really good. Lots of flavor. It's nice and chewy and crunchy at the same time, and it doesn't taste like unseasoned tofu. Surprise, surprise. So yeah, this is really likable. I can't see anybody, taking offense to the flavors that are in this. It tastes just like some sort of a veggie crumble that you'd buy. So one of my favorite ways to use a soy crumble like this is in a burrito. So I'm gonna make one of these up really quickly. I've just got some refried beans here. Put that on first. And then I just quickly sauteed up some onion and corn, so I'll put that on there too. Some bell pepper, a bunch of fresh cilantro, some fresh tomato, and then of course the crumble. Hit it with a little of that cilantro on top, and then bam, there we have it. That is one tasty looking burrito. So I'm not sure if I'll be able to get this closed, but I will eat all this, I promise. All right, next let me show you how to make this amazing sweet and salty sesame tofu. Man, this recipe is so good. So for this one, it is as much about the recipe as it is the technique that I'm gonna show you. So I like to call this one the 2-bowl technique, and I'll show you how this works in just a second, how it's gonna help us. But first, we just have to get the tofu ready. So we just have to get it out of the package, drain off the extra liquid, and cut it into cubes. So if you really want to get your tofu nice and dry so it like crisps up really good, which we kind of want for this recipe, you just want to dry it off as much as you can. So you can just wrap it in a towel or a paper towel like this, and just kind of squeeze it, get off all that excess moisture. So once you have all your tofu cubed like this, just put it aside for a second because we gotta make the sauce or the marinade for it. So next, in the bigger of your 2 bowls, you want to mix 1 tablespoon of Bragg's liquid aminos. Of course, you could use tamari or soy sauce instead of this. So 1 tablespoon. And then 2 teaspoons of hot sauce. Of course, if you want it spicier, you could add more. If you don't want it spicy, you don't have to add any. 2 teaspoons of rice vinegar. And then 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, and then I'm gonna be adding 1 teaspoon of this toasted sesame oil. So you don't have to use oil if you don't want to, but it is part of this recipe. We're making the tastiest tofu ever, not the healthiest, so add some of that. And then you just wanna give this a really good mix. So for the next step, you wanna put all of the tofu chunks into the bottom, but you want it only 1 layer deep, and you'll see why in just a minute. Yo, how bad is everyone's OCD going off right now with the square chunks into the round container? So this is where the second bowl comes into effect, and I just like to use it for pressing all the tofu down at the same time and helping it to absorb some of those flavors. So it's gonna get pretty squishy sounding here. You guys will hear it. Oh yeah, that is the sound you're looking for. So if Crystal goes from the top, you can actually see, it kind of starting to absorb some of these flavors. So tofu is very sponge-like. So if you put in a little bit of work like this and kind of like squish it around, it's gonna start to absorb a lot of those flavors. So this is just like basically a really quick way to marinate tofu. You could just do this like overnight, I suppose, but I mean, you know, I don't really think that far ahead a lot of the time. So I like to just keep pressing it down as much as I can until the tofu just starts to break apart. And that's probably when you want to stop pressing on it, or else you're gonna make like tofu crumble again. So we're actually gonna be cooking this one in our air fryer, but you can definitely cook it in the oven if you want. You'll get really good results as well. You might just wanna put it on like a non-stick baking sheet. Some parchment paper would work as well, but yeah, those silicone sheets work really good. So that marinade is good for about a half a block of tofu. You can see here that we don't really have too much left. So if you guys wanna do a full block of tofu, you probably just wanna double that recipe. And I'm actually going to mix up some more just so that I can season the rest of this tofu, bake it all at the same time. So once you have it all loaded into the air fryer, or you have it all placed on a baking sheet, you just wanna fire it in there for probably about a total of 30 minutes, but I'm gonna take it out after 20, and then I'm gonna mix it up with some more stuff, but I'll show you guys that in a sec. All right, so after about 20 minutes, you can see it is definitely starting to brown up and starting to look amazing. You could eat it right now. I mean, it would be great, but I'm gonna take it to the next level, and I'm gonna share with you guys how to do that. We have the leftover marinade here, and I'm actually going to add some of this sweet chili sauce to it. So if you don't have this, or you can't find this, you could always add some maple syrup. So what we're basically trying to do is just make a sticky sauce so that we can put the tofu back in here, mix it around a bit, and have some sesame seeds stick to it. So once you have it all mixed up, you just want to put it back into the air fryer, or if you're doing it in the oven, back onto the baking tray, and then just back in to cook for another 10 minutes or so. Ah, all right, it's ready. So here's the sweet and salty sesame tofu, and oh my gosh, it looks so good. Oh my god. Wow. So this is definitely like my favorite of the 3 recipes that we made today. The other ones are good, don't get me wrong, but this sweet and salty sesame tofu is just like leagues above virtually any other tofu I've ever had. It's so good. So yeah, if you guys have someone in your life, or even you, that's like, oh, I don't like tofu, I've never liked it, it's just so boring and bland or whatever, make this recipe for them and I guarantee you are gonna convert them into a tofu lover.
And they are known as soy boys.
Next, I'm going to share with you the freezing technique. So oddly enough, if you freeze tofu, it actually changes the texture of it quite a bit. So it makes it firmer, makes it chewier, and it also tends to like open up the pores of the tofu to allow flavors to get in there even more. All I did was just take a full block of tofu in the package and everything, and I just threw it in the freezer. So then on the day that you want to use it, you just pull it out on the day of, let it thaw on the counter, or if you think about it a few days before, you could let it thaw in the fridge, and that's it. It is ready to use. But do be mindful, it does release some liquid as it thaws. So you do want to make sure that it's in a container that will hold the liquid, not spill all over your fridge or counter. So freezing it also allows you to strain a lot more of the liquid out of it. So you can see here, don't worry, it's not going onto the counter. But yeah, you can see it's really easy to squish a lot of that liquid out. And that's what you want to do because the liquid that's inside of here doesn't have any flavor. So you want to take that liquid out somehow so it's nice and dry like a sponge, ready to soak up the flavors that you're going to give it. So once the tofu has been frozen, thawed, and then cubed like this, it is pretty much ready to go. Like this stuff is ready to soak up some flavors. So you could definitely use it in like soups or stews. It would be great in there. But what I'm gonna use it for is a stir fry. And because of like, you know, how willing it is to soak up some flavors and the like new texture that it has, like the firmness and the chewiness, is so good in a stir fry. So I'm just gonna make a really simple stir fry. I'm just gonna chop up some veggies. I'm gonna add it all to a frying pan, and then I'm gonna add some fresh ginger, some fresh garlic, and tamari, and that should be it. It's gonna be amazing. So once everything's cooked enough for your liking, it's pretty much ready to eat. Of course, you could add some more sauce on top of this, and you guys know I have lots on my channel if you're looking for one, but I'm just gonna taste it like this to see how it is. Of course, I'm gonna try the tofu first. Really good. Hot. So the tofu is really good. It's definitely not overly flavored or anything, but that wasn't the idea with this recipe exactly. Like I kind of just wanted to show you guys that technique of freezing it and then thawing it to change like the texture and enable it to take on flavors even more. So it's definitely a lot chewier than if I just chopped up some tofu out of the fridge and put it in here, and it has taken on a lot of those flavors from the fresh garlic and the ginger as well. Man, it is really, really good. I think you guys are gonna like this. Alright, so I think that is probably it for this video. I've showed you guys 3 ways to make tofu taste amazing. So don't feel like you have to copy these recipes exactly. I just wanted to give you some ideas on different ways that you could season it and prepare it so that you could take your tofu to the next level. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed seeing all of these amazing creations. If it gave you some ideas, definitely hit the like button, do me a favor, and subscribe if you want to see more from me if you haven't already. And leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know your favorite way to prepare and have tofu. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you soon with another video. I'm gonna go eat all this tofu. Bye guys.
I need a Budweiser to wash this down though. Give me a bud. Hey, Crystal, give me a bud.